little bit since we've seen you. The last time we saw you, unfortunately, it didn't play out like you wanted to, but how are you feeling after that fight? You came into that fight with so much energy, so much enthusiasm, and you seem like you're on another level. Has that continued forward since that fight?
Yes, I've been training nonstop since that fight. I was very disappointed it didn't go my way. I thought it was really close, but I sat down with my coaches and trainers and discussed what I needed to do. I needed to get stronger. I needed to better my wrestling so I could get it to the ground and jiu-jitsu her. That's my goal, but really I want to win it any way I can. So I've been training nonstop these past 7 months, and I'm really excited to show her and myself and everybody what I can do.
And it seemed going in there that your striking seemed on another level than when we saw. So I assume that that's continued as well. I mean, how are you feeling on the striking? It sounds like your jiu-jitsu is always going to be there, but it seems like, is striking still a major focus as well that you've been trying to improve upon?
Yes, my striking has leveled up. Now, I don't think I'll become a K1 champion anytime soon, but I'd like to show that I've improved by my standards.
Well, let's jump over to your opponent. When you look at Barb's a legend in her own right, but break her down for us. Where is she dangerous, and what sort of things are you expecting coming into the cage?
One reason I'm so excited about fighting Barb is that she's great everywhere. She's very well-rounded. Her striking's good, her wrestling's good, her ground game is good, so I'm pretty much thinking, what's she going to do here? What would I do here? She'll probably do the right thing, so I can just, see her as, my rival, this epic challenge for me, So I know that, I sat down with my coach, John Wood, and I can see she has some tendencies, so, I have a kind of game plan, but I just have to be aware of things she does, and just, I win my fights when I do me, and I focus on what I want to do, so I shall proceed and execute the plan.
How long has Barb kind of been on your radar as a fighter? Because you guys have both been doing this for a little bit now.
I've been wanting to rematch Barb for about 7 years now. That's right. Ever since she beat me with the rear naked choke. So, yeah, a long time, and she was the Invicta champion. So she's always been a goal of mine. So
you'd see her in Invicta events and be like, I want that rematch. Kind of give her a little side eye.
She kind of disappeared for a few years,
did,
so I really haven't seen her around. But yeah, I've been on the lookout.
Did you guys build any sort of relationship in the house together during the show?
We did. We did chat a bit in the house on TUF26. We both got up kind of early, so we tended to have breakfast a similar time, and she went swimming and I did my yoga. We chatted a bit. She recommended a book to me, and yeah, so we became friendly. So
does that, when you come into a fight, does that maybe take a little bit nerves and pressure off, because it is somebody that is not the boogeyman across the cage, but somebody that you've seen and have some sort of a relationship with?
Every opponent feels different. Every fight feels different. The only person in my whole fighting career who's ever tried to evil eye me was Vanessa Porto, and years ago, and I think it was Fatal Femme Fighting, she looked at me and was like, the belt or something, but I mean, I'm pretty much friendly with everybody, so I never really feel anything like that.
I can't imagine anybody really trying to mean bug you. I mean, you're always there smiling.
It's impossible.
How did your book come about?
Which book?
The inspirational images that I see on Twitter.
Okay. I wrote 2 books. One is about my memoirs, living in Japan, and another one is a book, Mental Training by the Happy Warrior, How to Be Positive. And I've gotten a lot of questions from fans about, how do you stay so positive? And I thought, well, my mom raised me to think positively, and I have various techniques that I use. So I composed a book with 10 chapters, and each chapter is a mental technique that I use to change my way of thinking about a negative situation, to see it positively. And then I wrote maybe 5 or 6 scenarios in the workbook so that the reader has to think of how they would be positive in that situation to train their minds.
Which one of those would you say helps you the most in fighting, if you had to pick one?
Probably see the silver lining, and also something else my coach John Wood says is replace the negative thoughts. So pretty much we can never stop ourselves from thinking something. If you say, don't think about that, you can't, So when it comes in, you have to replace that thought with something else. So, am I ready? Of course I'm ready. Am I going to get tired? You're not going to get tired because blah, blah, blah. So that sort of thing. So you always replace these negative thoughts with positive thoughts, and that's helped me a lot in my fighting career ever since I joined Syndicate.
What's more difficult, the writing of the book, or being in the octagon?
Walking to the cage and stepping in there is actually waiting for my turn is the most difficult and nerve-wracking thing. So once I get in there, I'm good to go. But like waiting, is it my turn yet? That's nerve-wracking.
What do you do while you're waiting? Are you watching the fights? Are you reading? Are you meditating? What do you do while you're waiting to keep yourself upbeat and ready for the fight?
I cycle. I cycle through pacing, listening to music, watching the fights, and I go back, I relax, I chat with my coaches, then I pace around some more, then I listen to Rob Zombie, then I watch some fights. So I cycle through those things.
How does somebody waiting for their next fight not let their adrenaline get up and, you know, so they dump before they get out into the cage? Is that ever a concern as a fighter?
Pretty much I use the mental process to, you know, replace my negative thoughts and always think positively. And when I start getting too excited, you know, I pace around or I talk to my coaches or I try to like just be very aware of how my mind works so that I can control my thoughts.
Nico's kind of taking a beating publicly because she hasn't defended the title yet, and Shevchenko's been kind of like knocking on that door. How do you feel about that whole situation? Do you think, are you surprised that she hasn't defended it yet?
I heard that Nico had various health problems, and I think she wrote some things about them on Instagram, but it wasn't really public knowledge, so people were just like, where is she?
Right.
As opposed to that being more explained. And then Shevchenko's doing what she's supposed to do, is trying to be vocal, and, you know, it's a show business pretty much, so I mean, that's one part of it, but I think it's kind of unfair to like hang her up to dry like that, because Nico is not afraid of anybody. She wants to fight, you know, all of us TUF27 fighters have been waiting like 7 months to fight, so I'm glad the fight is finally set, but yeah, she deserves to take a little break and heal her injuries.
Would you have wanted to fight sooner, or is this the appropriate time, about 8 months since your last fight?
I definitely wanted to fight sooner. Honestly, I was asking the UFC in January, like, oh, when can I fight next? And I was trying to keep my weight low and be ready. So it's been a pretty long fight camp, just because I finally learned maybe in April when I was fighting. So I wanted to fight sooner. But I'm very happy and grateful to be in the UFC at all, and I'm happy to have a contract. So whenever they want to give me a fight, it's fine.
Have they ever told you why? To me, it seems like the women just don't fight as frequently. I see a lot of the women in the UFC complain that they're just waiting, like Angela Hill's been waiting. She finally got a fight. Has anyone ever explained that maybe there's just not enough spaces or any reasoning at all?
The UFC works in mysterious ways. I don't know what they're thinking. I'm sure there's reasons. There are reasons, but I don't know.
As a fighter, you know, if you have a bad day at work, you don't just go back to work the next day and kind of wash it out and have a good day. You've had to wait 8 months to have your next day at work. How does that cloud hang over you, or is there another way that you kind of like wash that out and reset before this, you know, as a fighter?
Well, I get really bummed out and depressed if I don't have a plan of action, like if I don't know how to get better, I don't know what I'm doing. But once I decide, like, okay, I need to get stronger, so therefore I will execute this plan of conditioning. Or, oh, this sucks, so I need to get better, and then I start training and I make improvements in the gym. So then I can be excited about every day. You know, I can wake up like, oh, I did this yesterday, and today I'm going to do this, and I can feel really positive about my training. So now, for example, I feel great, I feel stronger, I feel more skilled, and it's been a great journey.
Does it outweigh the loss, the steps to get to this fight, or do you have to get that next fight and that next win to get over that? Or is it the process that gets you over that?
I'm not sure, but I know that the way I look at fighting and my feelings about martial arts play into that a lot. You know, I do martial arts for self-improvement and to prove to myself that I can do the techniques. So, you know, recently I've been able to do a few techniques I've never been able to do despite training them. And so I just feel so accomplished and happy with myself that I feel it's really gratifying. So yes, I do need a win for sure, and that's a little stressful, but you know, I enjoy the small victories as much as I can in training.
What are some of those small techniques?
That's a top secret. You'll have to see in the fight.
I know for me, I apologize, I didn't know about the writing thing, but one last thing, I know that you teach kids a lot. Is other avenues of books, say kids books or like fantasy, because you've always been a creative person and you do all the anime stuff. Have you ever, are there plans to do sci-fi writing, fantasy writing, kids writing, anything else in the future now that you're getting the process of being a writer down more?
Yes, I have written some fantasy books in my youth. They're not great, so I probably have to edit them. I wrote a kid's book, and I sent it to my mom, and I said, "Mom, what do you think?" She's like, "I don't know, honey, I'll have to think about it." So that kind of bumped me out a bit. But I need a publisher or somebody who can help me get it out there, you know, like my 2 books I self-published. And they're getting, you know, fans' attention, but they're not big scale yet. They're not in, you know, stores, so I need a little guidance in that regard, but I'd love to keep, I'm going to keep writing for sure.
That's great.
Sorry, one more, last one. The one that has to do with positive thinking, the second book, have you been able to motivate any MMA fighters or anyone from the MMA community? Have they given you that feedback, that they read the book? And
I believe I have gotten a few fighters who bought my book and then gave me positive feedback on it, and said that it helped them in their lives. So I'm really happy to hear that kind of feedback. You know, that's one thing that I love about, you know, being a fighter and being in the public eye, is that I can try to say good things and try to influence people in a positive way.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, Roxanne.